smoke it and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Ah, yeah, welcome back. It's 4:02 in the Pacific Time Zone. Welcome to Toker Talk Radio. So glad to have you here. We're getting all potted up on weed. I hope you are too. You know, one of those clips in there when Pat Robertson from the 700 Club started talking about mass incarceration and how awful it was that we keep weed illegal. That's kind of the sign I knew. That was the first crack in the Berlin Wall of Prohibition for me. When Pat Robertson started saying reform-friendly things, that was... Now, it's scary because Pat Robertson is batshit crazy. I don't know if you knew that. He's batshit crazy. And so it's occasionally weird, you know, it's one of those stopped clock is right twice a day moments where you're like, find yourself agreeing with Pat Robertson. But it's like, he's right. You know, we lock too many people up. We give them criminal records and it's not helping anything. Now, Pat and his ilk would like to solve that through, you know, drug courts that sentence kids to Christian-based drug rehabs. But one step at a time. let's get it legal and we can work on that part. Speaking of legal drugs, there's some commercials in Oregon that I've been seeing lately from the Smoke-Free Oregon people. We're talking about tobacco smoke here. And, you know, from all the big tobacco settlements from 1998 and beyond, there were monies that were given to the states for these truth campaigns, you know, the anti-smoking truth about cigarette campaigns. And I applaud these things in so much as they give truthful information. And they usually do. It's pretty easy with cigarettes to come up with truthful information that's damning to cigarettes. The latest ones have been interesting to me because they've focused on a couple of I guess convenience store owners or operators or managers, something like that, but convenience stores. And they point out how the tobacco executives would come in, the salespeople, whatever, would go to the stores, the distributors, right, would go to the stores, and they would offer bonuses, incentives, and all sorts of free swag if these convenience store managers would place their tobacco ads near, like, lower levels where kids can see the ads, like at their eye level, like 3 foot, 4 foot high. Or if they would place their products up on the front counter, like next to the Twix bars and the M&Ms. Or if they'd put them behind the counter up next to like toys that were being given away or something. And the whole idea would be getting, you know, this advertising toward kids by enticing them with the same kind of tricks a grocery store uses, right? They put the Trix cereal on in the kids' eye level. You know, Lucky Charms are at the kids' eye level, and it's the whole wheat biscuits that are at the adult level, right? This is no secret. Marketers have been using this kind of tactic toward kids for years. So this is why I'm frustrated by how badly the prohibitionists and the regulators want to restrict marijuana advertising. And they want to restrict it to a level beyond what they're currently allowing for tobacco and alcohol advertisers. If we're aware that these tobacco advertisers are using these proximity types ads, why aren't we doing anything about it? Why aren't people up in arms about that and doing something to change that, as they seem to be about limiting a pot shop from doing anything that might remotely appeal to children? Oh my God, we can't use colors and graphics that might appeal to children. It's more frustrating because we have this insistence that marijuana must be sold at an adults-only place. And I'm fine with that, actually. I don't really want a bunch of kids around when I'm trying to buy my pot, right? So I'm fine with the adults-only place, but what I don't understand is once we're in the adult-only place, why can't we advertise to the adults that are in there? See, the convenience store, we can expect there's going to be kids in a convenience store, and there's candy in a convenience store, right? There's a place that, hell, when I was a kid, we used to go to the convenience store all the time to buy candy, so we expect there to be kids there. Yet we allow tobacco and alcohol advertising in those stores? Why don't the tobacco stores have to be adults only? And why don't the beer stores have to be adults only, and that be the only place they can advertise? Why is it just now we're coming up with these restrictions and we're doing it to the drug that's demonstrably safer than the alcohol and the tobacco that we seem to be so at ease with, that we seem to be so ready to accept their blatant marketing to kids? I'm willing for marijuana to have stringent advertising restrictions, but they should apply to alcohol and tobacco too.
And now, a message from former President George W. Bush
to remind the American people of our responsibility in our nation's war on certain American citizens using non-pharmaceutical, non-alcoholic, tobacco-free drugs.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
That's right, America, use less drugs. Put down the Prozac, the Vioxx, and the Levitra, and turn to the herb. Use less drugs. Our national policy is no longer just say no, it's now just slow down.
You get me too high. I overanalyze. If you've ever been too high, then you can sympathize. You get me too high. And I start to fly if I said some silly thing, and that's the reason why.
420 Radio is 24-hour marijuana legalization radio. 5 of the last 9 major party candidates to run for president, 3 of the last 9 vice presidential candidates, and the last 3 two-term presidents have all smoked pot. Marijuana, the gateway drug to the White House. This is the Russ Belville Show. .420radio.org is proud to replay Drug Truth Network, Century of Lies with Dean Becker from Houston, Texas. Pioneering marijuana radio activist Dean Becker continues his illustrious career, interviewing reform luminaries on his Century of Lies and Cultural Baggage shows from Pacifica's KPFT in Houston. Catch the replays Monday at 11 Pacific on 420radio.org.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for Normal. I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact NORML at NORML.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORMAL.
All right, welcome back, everyone. 10 after. And we're just chilling out here listening to a little Frankie Knuckles featuring Paul Shapiro with the Whistle Song. Reminds me we're about 10 minutes away from our 20 after break, where we feature our daily Toker tunes. And today is Electric Tuesday. Got some great music coming up. Electric Bob will be joining us with some music from Capsula. So we'll check that out. So, I don't know if you're out there on the Twitter, but you ought to be. I'm on the Twitter. I'm at Radical Russ on the Twitter. And I have a blast reading it. And one of my favorite things about Twitter is the hashtag. And what's fun about the hashtag, if you don't know, hashtag just means you put a pound sign in front of a subject. It's really like a subject line. And then it makes it so that you can click on that subject line and find out what everybody's saying on that one particular subject. Well, apparently this afternoon, CNN is doing something that has to do with policing, and they've issued the hashtag #AskACop. Hashtag #AskACop. The results have been predictable and hilarious, and a little bit tragic. Let me read a few of these tweets. They're funny. This one's from J.K. Fecky. Ask a cop. Ohio is an open carry state. People have a right to carry weapons there. Why do you keep shooting black people carrying BB guns? Keep in mind, Ohio was the Walmart where the one man was shot when he picked up a unloaded BB gun, like at the Walmart. He was going to buy it. He got shot. And the other, of course, in Cleveland, Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old, shot playing with a fake little air pistol thing. Another one of the Ask a Cops. Let's see. Hashtag Ask a Cop from DDSS blog. Do police officers get points for every black person they shoot, akin to bagging a deer or a grizzly? Pretty high. Here's one from Deer Leader 10. How do you manage to bring in serial killers alive, but you can never seem to help yourself with black people? Hashtag Ask a Cop. Here's another one. Ask a Cop. Why are so many people committing suicide with their arms cuffed behind their back after apprehension? We covered one of those stories here on 420 Radio News, where the suspect was handcuffed in the back of the car. After being patted down, somehow found a gun that he'd had on him and shot himself to commit suicide. Right. So this hashtag is blowing up right now. Some of them get a little funnier. Let's see if I can pull that one back up. Hashtag Ask a Cop. Did you feel bad that in Starsky and Hutch they never shot Huggy Bear? Ask a Cop. Ask a Cop. Are cop mustaches an evolutionary adaptation to warn others that you're an insecure asshole? Hashtag Ask a Cop. It is just taking off. I'm really enjoying this. Let's see what we can find. Oh, wait, I've got a feed over here. Let's take a look at this. I have a math question. If one black man has 0 guns, 0 knives, and 2 hands, how many bullets does it take to disarm him? Hashtag Ask a Cop. Do you ever wish you were educated above a 12th grade level and could understand abstract concepts rather than orders and force? Hashtag Ask a Cop. How is it that you want... Oh, scrolled on me. Dang, lost it. There's so many. Let's go up to the top. We'll just start from there. Hashtag Ask a Cop. How many times you got to get beat up in high school minimum before you can join the force? Hashtag CNN or at CNN Tonight. Why are police around the world, Canada, UK, etc., loved and praised, and police in America are feared? Hashtag Ask a Cop. How do the good cops deal with the negative stigma that a few bad cops give? Hashtag Ask a Cop. Do you guys practice, he was going for my gun, in front of a mirror like De Niro practice, you talking to me, in Taxi Driver? Hashtag Ask a Cop. Oh, boy. Why is every cop on TV more upset over T-shirts calling for justice than, say, an unarmed 12-year-old boy? Ask a Cop. They've gathered, it's cops, it's hashtag cops under fire. They've got a CNN police panel, and they said, what would you ask a cop? Hashtag ask a cop. If y'all had to choose between shooting a black kid for no reason or treating everyone equally, what kind of gun would you use? Wow. Amazing. Why do black people love reaching for your guns? Are your firearms some kind of Negro catnip? Hashtag ask a cop. Hashtag ask. Oh, here's a good one. Hashtag ask a cop. Why did Darren Wilson ask himself, can I kill this guy, instead of how can I de-escalate this situation? Wow. Would like to be watching this police panel. How is this not a chokehold? Why don't officers actually live in the neighborhoods that they protect and serve? Why are your unions more upset about a t-shirt than about cops killing unarmed black men? Why was Darren Wilson allowed to bag his own weapon, wash his hands, and leave his incident report blank? What kind of murder does a cop have to commit to actually be indicted? How is it you want apologies from athletes but won't apologize to the families that you've affected? Tamir Rice, Eric Garner. Twitter is... On the scale of free donuts to unarmed black men, how threatening do you find the revolution you inadvertently started? So a guy had 600 rounds of ammunition and you don't kill him, but you kill a 12-year-old with a BB gun. Why is that? When you shoot someone in a reckless manner, do you all have your union reps on speed dial so you won't have to call 911 or what? Let's see here. If ignorance of the law is no excuse for citizens, how is that not applicable to those who are supposed to enforce the law? And apparently there must be a black cop on the panel. Hey, black cop, do you get nervous when police pull you over when you're not in uniform? See, this is, people kind of dismiss Twitter a little, but I really think it's a very, very important data stream to be paying attention to. It's kind of like the collective id of the online world. And don't dismiss its power when you consider the Arab Spring that happened, things that are being organized now in a real-time way that never could have happened before. The hashtagging of all of these unarmed black men who've been shot is raising awareness around the nation and around the world of this issue in a way I don't think even 3-4 years ago it could be raised. And the protests continue, and I hope that it's getting uncomfortable for some people, uncomfortable enough that they'll recognize the need for change. President John F. Kennedy once said, "Those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable." And the police and their supporters and the justice system in general is going to have to recognize there is only so much the American people will put up with when it comes to this type of policing, to this type of enforcement in our country. And we're changing it as much as we can at the legislative level. We're changing it in the initiative states through legalizing marijuana. And I'll be writing up a very detailed article coming up in the next week or two that I'm writing for High Times, the print magazine, on how this war on drugs inevitably led to black people being perceived as an enemy in this country. And how the drug war, in its design, was meant to deal with what Nixon called the black problem. And that it was eminently predictable that we would have these Tamir Rice and Eric Garner and Mike Brown and Amadou Diallo and all of these people being gunned down as potential threats
I spent the last 2 years of high school in a daze.
Because we have systematically orchestrated our systems to feed off of there being a permanent war and a permanent enemy. Entrenched drug war, rehab, prison, industrial complexes. Think about that. Enjoy your 420 break. We'll be back with Electric Bob right after this.
.420 Radio, the activist radio station.
There's so much I worry about as a mom. Stephen Harper thinks that organized crime should continue to profit from marijuana prohibition. Imagine regulating marijuana like alcohol and cigarettes with a strong and clear educational message, making it more difficult for my kids and your kids to access. Drug dealers don't ask for ID. Stephen Harper does not have the kind of judgment we need to protect our children, authorized by the Normal Women's Alliance of Canada.
NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks are far less than those posed by legal drugs. Get.Buzz. .Buzz is the internet platform that fuels community interest, excitement, and new experiences. .Buzz is the premier online destination for internet users seeking the latest news on a variety of topics. .Buzz appeals to groups active in blogging, communications, journalism, advertising, and marketing. .Buzz offers registrants a stronger alternative to the shrinking namespace of existing top-level domain names, such as .com, .net, and .org. Get your name now at get.buzz.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Electric Tuesday, featuring the latest in electronic dance music and other cutting-edge genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tune.
Welcome back, everyone. Almost 23 after the hour. I hope you had a nice, herbal, relaxing moment. And we're going now to our phone lines where we've got Electric Bob on the line out there in Arizona. How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Russ?
I'm fantastic. Is it actually, are you getting cold down there in Arizona? Anything approaching cold?
I had to walk to Walmart last night and I actually wore a jacket, but it was still only about 50.
Okay. Well, that's not so bad. I know a lot of people out there are dealing with some freezing cold, and I always think that it'd be nice time to be in Arizona. I spent a couple years ago, no, a year ago, I was in Arizona around December, and
that's I had went up to that place in Tempe to go hang out with you.
Yeah. Remember that? It was about a year ago, and God, it was a lot warmer last December, wasn't it?
It's a year so long for me now.
Yeah, I understand. All right, well, let's get to the music here because you got something for us from Capsula. I hope I pronounced that right.
Yeah, he's a producer. Actually, I wanted to first announce that I'm starting to work on some new boogaloos. I'm hopefully gonna have some done by the first week of January when we come back. So I'm trying to get a few shows done so I can pump some out so we can get that back rolling.
Excellent.
But yeah, Capsula. He's out of Lodgepole, and he just produces on the side, and he makes some really good music. This is a reggae influenced jungle tune that I put out on my label Dark Till Dawn, and we're doing good on that. We just hit 1,500 plays on SoundCloud.
Right on.
Yeah, we're doing good. So I'm just trying to do this label thing and do my DJ thing and do my 420 radio thing.
Right on. Where do people find you on SoundCloud?
They can find me at SoundCloud/Dark Till Dawn Records.
I'll
put a link. Dark Till Dawn.
Okay.
I'll put a link in the chat bar.
Yeah, please do. All right, well, let's get to it then. This is Capsula with Drop the Sound Tester. Thanks, Bob. We'll talk to you again next week.
No problem.
jump and sound over so. Back up to the gate to figure. Jump and sound over so. Jump and sound over so. Back up to the gate to figure. Jump and sound over so. Jump and jump and
.420 Radio, the home of marijuana experts. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. The new Viper Hour, the best of early 20th century reefer jazz, blues, and swing at 5 and 8 Pacific Time every Monday on 420radio.org. Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle who are on the verge of coming out in The Hypocrites by Mara K. Eaton. Available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook as well. Learn more at areyouahypocrite.net.
Welcome back, everyone. 31 after the hour. That's music from Empire State Human. The song is called High. Glad to have you back here. I want to talk about something that we covered on Friday's show. We spoke with Rob Ryan, the president of Ohio Normal, and just want to give you an update in that story, which was a legislative panel that has approved a measure to begin the process of lifting the driving penalties for marijuana possession. So, there's decrim states all throughout the United States, and Ohio's one of them. They've actually decrimmed up to 100 grams of marijuana. But there's a 1990 federal law that requires a 6-month suspension or revocation of a driver's license after a drug offense conviction. Did you know this? Now, I'd known for a long time that a lot of the decrim states had a 6-month driver's license suspension. And Oregon in 2013 fought to get that 6-month driver's suspension removed from our decrim. It's a moot point now because we've legalized, but we got that 6-month drive because it didn't have to do if you were driving a car. That you could be busted smoking a joint in the park and you'd get a 6-month driver's license suspension. And of course, for many people, especially in rural areas, if you don't have a driver's license, you don't have a car, you can't get to work. And that's not helping society, and that's not helping anybody. But I had not realized that this was a federal law. Now, here's the way this works. Under the federal law, the U.S. Transportation Secretary can withhold 8% of federal highway funds if the state in question does not enforce the 6 months driver's license suspension. Don't you just hate that little bit of blackmail there? I don't care what it's about. I don't care what the issue is. I'm upset at the idea that the federal government blackmails the states into suspending people's driver's licenses 6 months for their marijuana convictions. Now, there is an out. You can request an exemption. A state can request an exemption. I believe that's how Oregon has managed to get exempt from that driver's license suspension. And that's what Ohio is doing now. The House Policy and Legislative Oversight Committee today cleared this resolution. They've got a resolution that the legislature opposes the driver's license suspension. That goes to the full House. And then if that passes, that's what the governor can use to request the feds to let Ohio opt out of the driver's license suspension. Now, some of my older listeners or students of history may recall that this is not the first time the federal government has used federal highway funds as a way to blackmail states on drug policy. Ronald Reagan did so in the mid-'80s. His blackmail was on alcohol, the worst drug. And his blackmail policy was to get all the states to raise their drinking age to 21. There used to be states all across this country where you could drink when you were 19 or 18. In fact, my home state of Idaho was one of those states you could drink at age 19. And our drinking age got raised to 21 3 months after I turned 19, and we were all grandfathered in. If we'd already had the right to drink, you could keep drinking. So I recall this very well. But the federal government blackmailed the state, said we will withhold, I don't remember what the amount was, but we'll withhold federal highway funds unless you pass a law to raise your drinking age to 21. And all the states did it from 1986 through 88. I think the last one to hold out was what, Louisiana, I think? But all the states fell into line, didn't want to lose those highway funds. So now those highway funds, can't afford to fix the potholes on the interstate and the other highways in the state, and then everybody gets all pissed off about it. So it's an effective form of blackmail. And despite the fact that what it did was good, I mean, if you look at the results of raising the drinking age to age 21 with respect to highway fatalities, drunk driving, all that, all the bad stats, youth use of alcohol and so forth, raising that drinking age nationwide to 21 did seem to have quite the effect they were looking for. But I still don't support it. I still don't think the federal government should be using the powers of the purse to force states into drug policies they may or may not want to embrace. Getting your road funding should have to do with how well you're regulating the roads. I could see using the road funding as maybe a way to, well, maybe even not that. I was going to say as a way to get the states to lower their speed limits to 55. That was something they did as well. Or to adopt seatbelt laws or motorcycle helmet laws. But now I'm not even sure I agree with that anymore. If you're going to distribute funds for maintenance of our highways, that should be the end of it. Here, state, here's some money. Maintain your highways. How many people die on those highways is really not the issue, is it? And if we let it be the issue, for helmets or seatbelts or speed limits, then it's easy to make the jump to alcohol drinking ages and suspending driver's licenses for pot smoking. You can make all the arguments you want for the safety of the people. And those arguments might have held more sway with me even a couple of years ago. But the older I get, the more I start thinking, let's have some freedom here. Let's let a state have an 18 drinking age. Let's let a state not have helmet laws or seatbelt laws, raise their speed limit to 85 miles an hour, allow people to keep their driver's licenses if they've been caught with pot. Let's let states experiment with that, and then we can compare and contrast. We can find out what works and what doesn't. And other states can make their changes based on that compare and contrast. Instead of being forced from the top to do what's best for them, they can learn what's best from them. They can learn what's best for them by comparing to the other states, and maybe even make decisions that what's best isn't always necessarily more life. Right? I mean, the default position seems to be, well, we're going to do this because it'll save lives. Yeah, but what do you give up in exchange? Maybe some people, like in New Hampshire, would rather live free or die. Maybe some people would be more comfortable with more freeway deaths if it meant 85 mile an hour speed limits. There doesn't need to be an absolute when it comes to what's right for the people in all but a few areas. Obviously, I don't want states setting their own policies on whether or not black people can eat at the diner, right? I don't want states setting their own policies on whether or not people in wheelchairs can have access to public buildings, right? There are some things where I do think we need to set the policy from the top. But I want that to be a smaller list than what it is currently. I hope some of my libertarian friends are listening too, because this sounds awfully libertarian of me, but I guess it is. I guess I am becoming more distrustful of centralized safety planning and having the purse strings tied to that. So we'll keep you posted on this Ohio law, I hope this gets through and they're able to remove this provision. Taking someone's driver's license for merely being caught with marijuana doesn't make a whole lot of sense in a decriminalized state. Hell, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense anywhere, but we've got a whole lot of prohibition to remove before that happens for us. All right, let's go to our phone lines. We got a caller coming in from the 503 area code. You're calling from Oregon. Welcome to the show.
Actually, it's just me. It's I use Magic Jack, so it just very.
That's cool, man. What's up?
I keep hearing my voice. And anyways, I just how have states that legalized worked around the gun laws? I was just curious on that.
How do the legal states work around the gun laws, you say?
Yeah, because guns and drugs and the whole federal law about that.
Yeah. So far they haven't. In Colorado right now, they've got a proposal to address that. Their state legislators looking at their current law, which says that you can't sell guns or ammo to anyone who's a known drug abuser or a user of illicit substances. And they want to clarify that so that it says legal use of marijuana is not a reason to disqualify for someone from their gun rights. I know in medical marijuana states like Oregon, we had to fight to say that having a medical marijuana card, just the card, wasn't something that they could get rid of, that they could withhold your license for, your concealed weapons permit for. So every state's different right at this point, and most of them, the default is it's illegal, so you can't have both pot and a gun.
Yeah, well, being from Arizona, you know how gun laws are here. I'm just wondering how it's gonna be when we finally pass legalization here in Arizona.
Yeah, it's something I've always wondered about because when I've got a lot of conservative cousins and people that I talk to on the right side of the aisle who are very pro-gun, very pro-Second Amendment, and I always would ask them, well, if you're so pro-Second Amendment, why aren't you pissed off that that in the medical marijuana states, people that get a medical marijuana card federally, they can't have a gun? Why does not that piss you off? I mean, isn't your whole worry that there'll be some government list that they'll put you on that takes away your gun? Well, that's a medical marijuana registry.
Exactly. Well, I'm gonna let you go, Russ. I'm having phone problems.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in. Take it easy.
Sir, do you think there will or should come a time for us to discuss the possibility of legalization, regulation, and control of all drugs, thereby doing away with the violent criminal market as well as a major source of funding for international terrorism? Thank you so much for your time, Mr. President.
Well, I think this is an entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Name the time and place, Mr. President. Radical Russ has been prepping for this debate full-time since 2005. The Russ Belville Show.
.420 Radio, fighting prohibition since 2012. At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show. Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Marijuana is the bomb. Marijuana is the bomb.
That's right. Marijuana is the bomb. That's Anders Manga with Public Service Announcement. Featuring, of course, Sergeant Joe Friday from Dragnet. 46 after the hour here at Toker Talk Radio. And I want to take a look back at this national survey, or this national survey, the Monitoring the Future survey, I should say. And some of the key findings from it. And I think there's something that's unsaid in a lot of this. But let me cover some of the stats here. First of all, alcohol continues to decline. 12th grade past month use is down from 44% in 2009 to 37% in 2014. Significant drop in binge drinking from 32% in 98 to under 20% in 2014. So, in 1998, almost a third of high school seniors were binge drinking. Now it's under a fifth, under 20%. Cigarette smoking has decreased by nearly 50% in the past 5 years and is at the lowest rate in the survey's history. 6.7% of high school seniors smoke cigarettes daily. Marijuana use did not increase among teens, even though perceived risks went down. Marijuana exceeds cigarette use among teens. Illicit drug use has declined slowly over the past 20 years. Ecstasy and heroin use among teens continued to decline. There's been a decline in the use of K2 or spice, and the use of bath salts, all down. And as we went through the numbers, we took a look last hour about how the spike, the greatest use rates that we see in the recent times happened around 1997. And now, they went down by 2007. They went up a bit, and now they're leveling off and going down a bit. And one of the correlations that I like to point out is that 1997 is when medical marijuana began. Medical marijuana began, more and more states legalized medical use, and we see the use rates of marijuana dropping. Now, there's an old saying, correlation is not causation. It's not necessarily true that legalizing medical use reduced teen use. Teen use may have gone down for other reasons. And I think there's a correlation that better explains how teen use of all drugs, even alcohol, is much lower. And I think that same correlation explains how medical marijuana was able to spread throughout the states. And that correlation is the internet. 1997, 98, that's about when the internet's really picking up steam. People are starting to get online and logged in. Where what we know as the World Wide Web was just really starting to take shape, really starting to get the public's attention. Now, I know it had been going on since the early 90s, even the late 80s. But the real public attention to it happened around as Y2K started creeping up on us. And I think that better explains why so many fewer kids are using drugs and alcohol now. Because it just comes down to the old idle hands of the devil's playground kind of thing. A bored kid in a boring town is more likely to want to maybe take up smoking pot or drinking or whatever. It's going to be fun. And I think nowadays, with the incredible internet and video game systems that exist these days, there's fewer bored kids. I mean, back when I was a kid, we had Pong, Atari Pong, and Atari, tank game, right? It wasn't that exciting. And yeah, you could go outside and play football and have fun and run around and all that. But eventually it all gets boring. And once kids get bored, eventually some kid finds out that it's kind of fun to do drugs or to get drunk. Maybe these days, there's less opportunity for that to happen. Maybe these days, kids are more absorbed by playing video games or can express themselves and find other like-minded people to communicate with through social media and the internet. Maybe there's less need to turn to drugs as an outlet or as an escape when there's more digital escapes out there. It's just something to think about. I don't have statistics in this regard with respect to, video game use and drug use rates. Might be interesting to try to see if there's any similar decline in other countries with the rise of video games and the decline of using drugs. Also want to give a shout out to my awesome audience in the chat room who noted 1/3 of high school students were binge drinking. Now they're under a fifth. That's a nice pun. Thank you, Green Groves. You're absolutely right. Can't pass up a good pun like that. Ask a Cop is still out there on Twitter. CNN slowly learning they made a big mistake. How can a cop detail how he wants to literally eat women, but a rapper can get locked up for his lyrics? Yes, sir. And so many more coming out here. Ask a Cop, maybe we're approaching this wrong. When is it not justifiable to kill black boys? Because we just need to know what to tell our sons. Do you feel proud to see the KKK emphatically applauding your actions? Wow. So they are... Neil Real tweets, why do you seem to think we don't get it when there is literally a legal upper IQ limit on your job? Wow. So, Ask a Cop, hashtag Ask a Cop on Twitter. It's still happening. It's still big. And CNN didn't know what they were getting into. Another story, this is coming from Denver's 9 News in Denver, Colorado. A new report that says there was a 39% increase in arrests on Denver public school campuses last year, the first year that recreational sales of marijuana became legal. There were 154 arrests last school year compared to 111 the year before. And this is one of those stats, and the rest of the story, you got to understand also 9 News is kind of the anti-marijuana station. So 9 News interviews a bunch of kids who say, yeah, more kids are smoking pot all the time. Kids come to class all stoned. More kids can get it than ever before, which the data don't back this up. The data don't back this up at all. You're asking the kids what they see in their schools, and it's very subjective there, not very objective. But anyway, with respect to this arrest data, one of the things that I think we're going to have happening more often now, under legalization, there's less fear that when you turn the kid in, when you catch him for weed, that something bad is going to happen. Terrible, because marijuana is so terribly legal. Is it possible that with legal marijuana, there's a greater tendency to turn those kids in rather than just take their weed and, discipline them or something? I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but as far as going from 111 to 154, I think it's important to understand that we're talking about a state where there's about 400,000 students. So while the arrest rate might be a great 39% increase comparing one year to the next, comparing the total overall number of kids that are in the Denver public schools, it seems like fewer of them. Seems like we're not talking about a huge number of kids getting arrested for weed in the schools. And as far as these kids getting busted in school, we may also have the situation where there's increased attention to whether or not kids have weed in school. Now that it's legal and there's more discussion of it. And I think this is something we're going to see not just with, arrests in school, but another number that gets brought up is the Washington poison control number, where, oh my God, more people are coming in and turning to the Washington Poison Control Center when they've overdosed on marijuana, when there's been an accidental ingestion of marijuana. That's another thing they'll point out. Or they'll point out, oh, more people are being arrested or tested for DUI since we've legalized. And all three of these things share something in common, and that is, once you've legalized, you've opened up marijuana to scrutiny. Under Prohibition, marijuana is just illegal. But once it's legal, it's opened up to more scrutiny. We've got people now who are more willing to call poison control because it's not a crime to admit you've used marijuana. We got more people being tested for DUI because now they're aware that marijuana is out there, and merely catching you with the marijuana isn't enough to bust you. So they're going to go out of their way. It used to be when marijuana is illegal, cop didn't need to worry about setting up whether or not you were driving okay or whether or not we should take a sobriety test. The fact you had marijuana on you was enough for him to slap the cuffs on you and take you off the road. So the DUI might never have been charged because he didn't need to go that far to get you off the road because possession was enough. Now that possession's not enough, these cops have to go the extra mile, pardon the pun, in order to get the DUI conviction to take you off the road, or the DUI suspicion to arrest you. That's why we're seeing more DUIs being prosecuted. So I imagine there may be something similar going on in the school system, where a kid getting high before maybe wasn't noticed, or maybe was swept under the rug, or maybe was caught and we confiscate his weed, but we don't call the cops and have him actually arrested. Maybe we realized back then we didn't need to go that far. But now that it's legal, we're more open to following the typical legal routes we would, same route we would take if we caught a kid with alcohol at the public school. So don't be too concerned when the scaremongers set out these terrible scares about what's going to happen. Now that we've legalized, we got some sort of new statistic popping up that supposedly shows how bad legalization has been. We can't really know that because prohibition is the confounder. Prohibition confounds all the data. We won't know for another 10 years what the real effects of legalization have been in Colorado or Washington. It's going to take societal change, and it's going to take years of comparative data before we're going to know what the effects have been. Well, folks, that's all the time we got for Hour 2. Thanks for joining us. Time flies when you're legalizing weed. Stay tuned for Electric Bob's Boogaloo. The psychedelic episode is up next. And as Bob brought up earlier, new episodes of the Boogaloo starting in January. We also might see the return of the new Viper Hour in January. We'll see. But for now, I gotta call it. That's it for the day. Thanks for joining us. Be back tomorrow with more news and interviews you can use for the cannabis community. Doug Fine joins us for Hemp Day Hump Day. It'll be a good one. For everyone here at 420radio.org, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it,